All right, guys. So if you go back to when I became a Christian, it did not take long after I became a Christian for me to like look at how I became a Christian. And I was thinking, I was like, gosh, if I hadn't been in that block at this time, and if I hadn't, I'll give you an example. So you guys have heard of Randy. If you saw my testimony video, you heard of Randy. A lot of you guys heard of Randy, the guy I ran into. I ended up in the dorm with Randy because I was about to fight someone in a different dorm. There was a guy, total scumbag, named, well, this was his nickname. His nickname was Duke. And he was just a total garbage scumbag. And there were like five to seven of us who stayed up at night while everyone else went to sleep. There were like 5 to 7 of us who stayed up at night. Duke was one of them. We just play cards or something like that, but we all couldn't stand him. But I realized, hey, every other person here cannot stand this dude. And so this is a perfect opportunity. It'll be the middle of the night. We'll be playing cards. And I told everyone, Duke had this like, mechanical pencil type thing that he would, always threaten to stab people with and stuff. And anyway, I said, guys, I'm going to be in the middle of the night. I'm going to go ahead and, stab myself with that pencil and then beat the crap out of them. When the police come, you just say, hey, look, he stabbed David with the pencil. And so David beat the crap out of him. Self-defense. So I told these guys that. Anyway, one of them must have snitched because the night where this was going to happen, they came and if they know if they know something's going to happen, but they don't know who's going to do it, they'll break up the block. They'll just come in, take half the people in there and send them to different parts of the jail. So about to have a fight and someone snitches and I get sent to a different dorm. This is where I meet Randy, right? And here's my bunk. There's Randy's bunk. That's when we start our discussions and stuff. And then he, of course, so for those of you who don't know, Randy was a guy who became a Christian and turned himself in for 21 felonies and then ends up in jail with me. And I start messing with him over Christianity. So I was an atheist at the time and not a particularly nice guy. So I start talking to Randy, and this guy actually like knows how to argue and defend what he believes and so on. And we end up getting in a fasting battle. They conclude I'm trying to starve myself to death because I lost so much weight fasting, trying to outfast this guy. He wasn't trying to battle with me. I was doing it anyway. They put me in solitary. And in solitary, like one day I stole a book from the library. I stole a book just because it was new, like someone had donated it or they bought it, and it had like gold edge pages and stuff, and they hadn't stamped it with the jail stamp yet. And I was like, ha, I can steal this and it will be mine. So I took the book, but I read it. It was a collection of, it was 4 of Plato's dialogues. It was the Golden Sayings of Epictetus, and it was the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. But I read it. But some of the things in there, like, actually had an impact, and they tied together with Bible studies that I was doing and things that Randy had shown me. It's like everything comes together, and then I hit like absolute, just horrible, terrible rock bottom. And anyway, after I became a Christian, I looked back and it was like, if you removed any one of those things in that series of events, it's like it fell apart. I wouldn't even have become a Christian. So it's like, to me, it looked like there was a point. It looked like I was put into the dorm with Randy, who's going to set things in motion and so on. So to me, it looked like there was a plan for this and that Randy was the right person to be talking to me during this time. So I go off to prison. Later in prison, these sorts of things happen over and over again. So I was in Stanton Correctional Center, and you start off on a top bunk, and then you go on a waiting list. When a bottom bunk comes on, then they go down the list of who's next for the bottom bunk. One day they come up to me and say, hey, you want a bottom bunk? And it was under a guy named Kane, who was the prison tattoo artist. So every night he's sitting there doing tattoos by his bed. There's a cloud of smoke over there. They're all doing drugs. And do you want the bottom bunk? And I'm like, I don't know. And he says, well, you have to let me know by whatever time and stuff like that. And then I'm just thinking, I was like, okay, what if I'm the person who needs to be over there? What if I'm the person that has to be over there? Yeah, I don't want to be over there, but what if I'm the person for that? So I went over there. I took the bottom bunk underneath Kane in the tattoo area. And Kane, it was funny because, again, they would all do drugs and stuff over there. And Kane would I'd be sitting there reading the Bible. But just for anyone who's been following live streams for a while, a few years back, Kane came and visited, and we actually did a couple live streams together. But anyway, I was talking to Kane, and he would be sitting there going, I think it was acid or something like this. He was saying, I've got some stuff that would really help you while you're reading the Bible. And he says, the words will come off the page and you'll understand them like you've never understood them before. They will become clear. They will sink into your mind. It's like, dude, I don't want any drugs, dude. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, you always have a cup of water sitting beside you. I'm going to slip something into it when you're not looking, and you're going to thank me later after you're reading the Bible. And I said, dude, if I ever start feeling weird after drinking some of my water, I'm swinging. I'm flat out swinging first. But before I get too dizzy, I'm swinging. Couple weeks later, we ended up having discussions every night. Couple weeks later, Kane becomes a Christian, stops tattooing because it was against the rules. He started following the rules and stuff. He had all these like white supremacist tattoos on him. He had another person. He didn't want to do any more tattoos, but he did get those covered up. So he started getting all his racist, white supremacist tattoos covered up and so on. And to this day, one of my best friends. So anyway, so that's prison. I eventually get out of prison. I needed a class. I was trying to get all my classes done on 3 days, and I needed one like early morning class. So I looked at what was required. Communications 101 was a gen ed. Everyone had to take it at some point. So I picked one that was available. I ended up in a communications class. There were dozens of communications professors. I ended up in the one who was who ran the speech and debate team. And she said I should join the speech and debate team after I gave a prison. And by the way, she said that after I shared my testimony in that class. So we had to give a speech on something personal, something from your life. So I went ahead and did an entire speech on my testimony. It was funny. Everyone thought I was joking. Everyone thought I was making it up, right? They're like, you didn't do all this crap. And so anyway, but ended up in that class, and she said I should join the speech and debate team, where I meet Nabeel Qureshi and end up sharing a hotel room with him. And then later, my wife, who her class got canceled one day. Just her class got canceled one day, and she walks down into the speech and debate room. That's how I met my wife. Started talking to her when she started arguing with me and Nabeel. She was an agnostic at the time. Me and Nabeel were arguing about the resurrection. She starts arguing with both of us and stuff. Anyway, just looking at that after it happens, like, just all this stuff seems to come together really, really interestingly throughout my life. And of course, like AP a while back, he's like, so did you think that I was going to become a Christian? What do you think the chances of me becoming a Christian were? I was like 99%. I mean, I don't know, but it's like, I don't know. I just think God is putting people together. By the way, everyone who's watching, I don't just think that about myself. I think that about you too. I think God puts you together with other people for good purposes and so on. So you always got to pay attention to who you're around. Maybe you are the correct person to spend time with someone, or to talk to someone, or to be friends with someone, or to something like that.